right now. And please, what I want you to come back and tell me, Mama, please go back to what you said before. I told my brother, I told my sister, and he or she, is arguing. No. Call your family members now. Let them come and sit down and listen to what I want to say, because it's very important. Today we are discussing how not to lose your spouse to another. It's trending all over. In fact, it's becoming something trending that people are losing their spouses. Not that their spouses got up and left to stay on their own. They are losing their spouses for others. People are losing their wives. People are losing their husbands for others. Imagine you staying, and before you know it, you're seeing your wife in the hands of another man, maybe a man close to you, or you're seeing your husband in the hands of another woman known to you or close to you, or that you had something to do with. So today we just want to look at this and address it properly. There is this possibility of people losing their partners to others. There is also the possibility of people having their spouses with them, no matter how long they have been together. So this is your family this week with Precious Caleb, and I'm glad hosting you today because it's a beautiful thing that we have to talk. Now, let's say this, that generally there is this battle against marriage. This institution called marriage is under siege, whether you believe it or not. But I'm telling you that things that are happening these days will make it so clear to you that it's becoming a difficult thing for people to get married, for them to stay married, to remain married. Why? Because the Bible says that in the last days many shall be forbidden to marry. So now that we are sure that we are in the last days, why not expect the possibility of that act of marriages being forbidden? That is why people can stay in boyfriend-girlfriend things, and for years they will stay and will be using them as a model couple of the year, the romantic couple, the two of these. But immediately it comes to marriage, so many things start coming up. It's becoming a big concern. In those days we used to say that after about 6 months, that 6 out of 10 marriages taking place today within 6 months, about 6 will likely go down. But I don't even know whether we are still talking about 6 years, 10 years again. It's like it's now running in weeks, in months, and maybe few years. Why? Because many shall be forbidden to marry. But now, from the Christian perspective, we know that with God all things are possible. If you believe that your own marriage will work, you work towards it, God will help your own to work. Okay, so now this week and last week, there is this thing that has been on the social media about a man that came out, during interview, talked about how he used to keep malice with the wife, do this, do that, not talk to her. But eventually the wife ended up in the hands of another man. And the woman came out and talked her own, how the man used to treat her and all the stuff. I'm not here to side anybody, but I want to bring the Christian perspective to it. The Bible said that wisdom is profitable to direct. So right now, let's look into the scriptures and see how we can forbid this forbidden act in our own marriages. Now, so what are you going to do to ensure that you don't lose your spouse to another person? Number one thing is this: you must stop competing and start cherishing your spouse. Most spouses don't live for someone better. They just don't get up and live because the other person is better. No, most times they live because where they were, they felt that they were not being seen, they were not appreciated, or that they were taken for granted at home. If you look at scriptures, Ephesians 5:28-29, Bible talks about husbands loving their wives, like their own bodies. If you love your wife, you're loving yourself, and if you hate your wife, you're hating yourself. So when we talk about cherishing one another, we are talking about noticing or seeing, appreciating one another. We're talking about cherishing the other person by valuing that person and making the other person to feel chosen on daily basis. Neglect, this thing we call neglect opens door for another person. Now let's break it down. Before your wife or before your husband gets up and decides to leave you, somehow, I'm not talking about those that didn't really plan to remain married though. I know that there are so many people that just decided to enjoy that that celebration of wedding, you know, have the wedding, the most attended, the most expensive, the widely spread and all the stuff, that flamboyance. Some just into marriage for them is just that celebration. They want to talk about how their traditional marriage was, how the white wedding was, the court wedding, you know, those things. To them, that is all they want to. That is all they want. But for them to put their heads inside and do this thing we call marriage, you know, marriage takes a lot of commitment, because there are responsibilities inside. There are demands inside. In fact, for you to remain married, you must have made up your mind to remain married, because you see marriage from a different perspective. You must be seeing marriage away from what others that just want to enjoy the celebrations see marriage. Okay, so now let's talk about those ones that are not just into this thing marriage because they felt like, oh, let's enjoy the ecstasy, let's enjoy all the congratulations, the celebrations that will be sent to us, that will be about us and around us because of this thing called marriage. No, I'm talking to those that made up their minds to be truly married, and those that want to remain married, those that want to be married and stay married. Now, if you notice that your wife or your husband is beginning to keep quiet over some things that he or she has been talking about, is not beginning to bother about your movement, your way of things, the things you do, you just know that somehow that somebody somewhere is taking care of your spouse. Yes, oh yes. Somebody will say, Mama, why? Let me tell you, we are wired in a way that we always want to be appreciated. We want to always be seen. We don't like being taken for granted. So if there is a particular thing your wife or your husband has been talking about, maybe when he or she raises it, you shout or you yearn, you nag, you quarrel, you know, throw tantrums and raise tension everywhere, and maybe next time the person will feel like, okay, let me not raise it, you know, because I don't want trouble. You are actually creating room for your spouse to be found in another person's hands. What I'm saying, is it true? Yes, it is true. And if you look at those that eventually saw their husbands or their wives in other people's house, I'm not talking about those were men and women who that didn't really plan to stay married. I'm talking about those that made up their minds to be married, though. Those that shunned every other thing and said, I'm getting married. Those that said no to all other people and said, I'm getting married to this person. When eventually you see that they have left that marriage, don't be fast to conclude, no mind them, it just been they pretend, they pray. No. Some things went wrong, and I won't tell you that one of the things that went wrong was that something called competing or the absence of cherishing was there. So if you don't seem to be appreciating your spouse, if you don't cherish your spouse, if you don't listen to what your spouse is saying, if your spouse doesn't feel that he or she is welcomed around you, then you are creating room for that your spouse to be found in the arms of somebody that will show him or her that appreciation that is absent when he or she is with you. Okay, now, and I told you that when we talk about cherishing here, we're talking about you noticing, valuing, or making that your spouse to feel chosen on daily basis. Look at your wife and tell your wife how beautiful she is. Tell your wife that you are excited to be her husband. Tell your wife that her hairdo is fine. Yes, tell your wife that, oh, she's so important to you. Even if you don't have the money to be taking care of her needs, let her know that if you have the money, that you do that. Look at your husband and let your husband know that he is the best among others. That you saw others, but you looked at him and said that he is the best for you. And on a daily basis, let him know how much you care, how much you appreciate being married to him. You know, but when you begin to act as if it doesn't matter, it does not worth anything, that is nonsensical thing, you are looking for trouble. Number 2, the reason is the way not to lose your spouse is by guarding your emotional connections. Now, when we say that people fell into adultery, that some people started cheating on their spouses, excuse me, they didn't just fall into it. Adultery is not what people fall into. The Bible talked about people having lust in their hearts already, and when there is room created, the lust will hear the call of the lust outside, because the Bible said that deep calleth unto deep. You understand? So if there is lust, if there is this emotional confusion in you, when there is an opportunity, then the lust or that emotional issue in you will hold on to, will grasp, or will embrace that opportunity outside. That is why for a woman to eventually open up to another man that is not her husband, over time some things have been going on. It could be that, they started talking, they started having time to appreciate themselves. Gradually emotions started setting in, and there was no guard. The connection was not guarded, boundaries not set. Gradually it will start from the touching, the holding, the grabbing, the grasping, and any other thing that could come up. So if you notice that you're beginning to have emotional connection with somebody that is not your wife, that is not your husband, you need to guard it. Yes, you need to guard it. Yes. Or you notice that your husband or your wife is getting emotionally connected to a particular person, try and see what to do. Now, what are you supposed to do? Is it to shout and say, I will throw you out of this house if you talk to that man again? Or you say, I will pack and leave if you talk to that lady again? No. What you need to do is stop and think. Reason with that person. Share your heart, open your heart to that person and say, it's like I'm beginning to like this lady. It's like I'm beginning to have feelings for this man. Or you say, is there any way you can help me out of it? You understand? If not, something is going to happen soon, and you may not like what will happen. So what does the Bible say about it? Proverbs 4:23 said, above all else, guard your heart, because out of your heart flows issues of life, including the issues concerning your partner. So guard that connection between you and the person outside. Be careful with that connection. Rather, transfer that connection to your own partner in your own marriage. Yes. Don't allow the emotional intimacy between you and your wife, between you and your husband, to die like that. No, don't allow it. Look out for the things that can spice up your relationship, your marriage. Take your wife out from time to time. No matter how meager your pocket is, how lean your pocket is, how low your income is, from time to time, take your wife out. Yes, take your wife for a walk. Have a walk with your wife. It creates intimacy. Sit down and talk with your wife. Laugh over some things. Crack jokes. Yes, take your wife to a particular place. If you notice that your wife likes a particular thing, try from time to time to get that particular thing for your wife. Yes, there is a particular place she likes going to, and from time to time, just surprise her and take her to one or two of those places.